After months of supporting Texas A&M's Heisman-winning quarterback Johnny Manziel from afar, Kerrville residents hosted the Tybee alumnus for a welcome home celebration Saturday at Antler Field. More than 1,000 fans turned out for the event, which had Tybee's cheerleading squad, dance team, and band in attendance. Tybee alumnus turned ESPN broadcaster Carter Blackburn emceed the event, and former Tybee football coach Mark Smith and former Tybee offensive coordinator Julius Juju Scott joined Manziel on stage. Texas A&M fans were treated to a surprise as well, as Manziel's new offensive coordinator and quarterback coach at A&M, Jake Spavital, made an appearance. For the gathered crowd, it was a chance to honor Johnny football, but for Manziel, it was a chance to say thank you to his adopted hometown.
And Johnny, I'm just kind of wondering, when you look back at some of those highlights, and what are your favorite highlights to look back from the 2012 season?
Just looking back at the Alabama game is one that always sticks out to a lot of people. But the game for me was the Ole Miss game. That was a game that really could have changed how our whole season really turned out. If we don't score those points at the end of the game, you never really know where our season goes from there. And then just after the Heisman and after everything and all the hype and all the talk, and everybody was ready to get back to play football, and then finally Oklahoma playing them in the Cotton Bowl, and what we did to them in that game was pretty special.
So if we flip the calendar back like a year ago, so it's last April, and the questions that everyone's asking you and the rest of the Aggies are, boy, I'm not sure if you're physically ready for the SEC. I'm not sure if you're ready to be the quarterback of this team as a freshman. How satisfying and maybe how motivating was it to hear those comments, use it as motivation for your success?
Very motivating. I mean, if we came out and we only won 6 games last season, that's what people expected from us. But anything above that was just excess. So the biggest thing for us was let people say whatever they want. We knew what we were doing. We knew Coach Sumlin and everybody, we'd worked hard enough to put ourselves in a good position.
So how about just, I guess, take us through the Heisman Trophy week itself in New York City, being with some of the best players in college football, and a lot of folks congratulating you. Just being in that room, what's kind of something that even now, just a few months later, you think, boy, I can't believe that happened?
Yeah, just thinking back about being with all those guys who do so many great things each and every Saturday, and just to be in the same room with them and win awards like that was just absolutely ridiculous. And then after the Heisman, I'll never forget Coach Scott. Whenever I saw him in the hotel room after New York, it never really hit me until I saw him. And then people showed me videos of all the people in Kerrville and how they reacted to that. And that's when it really kind of got to me, and realized how big of a deal it was and what it really meant to this community and to all my family and everybody.
So what is it like sitting at the 50-yard line at Antler Stadium, and you've got everyone from friends and family and your coaches and teachers and everybody. What's it like to be sitting here having all these folks congratulate you?
Oh, it's awesome. I can't thank this city and this community enough for what they've done for me. Growing up here was a true blessing to be and spend the years I had here. So I can't thank each and every one of y'all enough for everything.
How about your favorite memories as a Tybee? We're going to visit with your coaches here in a little bit, but how about what were some of the things that stand out that you reflect back on already about the glory days of Tybee?
Just looking back and just being on this field and how it really turned into be almost like a Friday Night Lights feeling every time we would play games. Places would shut down. You'd have to be bussed over from halfway across the city to get to a game. People tailgating and just the support that we got throughout my years of being here was unbelievable. For a town to shut down for a football team and the support we got, I know players that are here right now can attest to that. It was just unreal.
It's a burden and a responsibility, right? Having all this success and having a Heisman Trophy. What's been the biggest challenge for you going through the process of being a football player, and now you're the Heisman Trophy winner, and folks are always looking at you?
Well, the biggest thing for me was just I know that there's a target on my back now. Everybody's looking at me, and there's a lot of people out there that want me to slip up. But the biggest thing is I have to make sure that I'm still representing this town, my family, and what I stand for, as well as Texas A&M. So I have to keep that in mind every day.
Excellent. We're going to hear more from Johnny in a little bit. Thanks, Johnny. Again, we'll hear more from Johnny and everyone else, but we want to call up some of the folks who have helped make Johnny a successful football player and a successful person. We mentioned we hear from Coach Scott and Coach Smith. I think Coach Smith, you want to come up and talk a little bit about what Johnny has Johnny, his progress in his career, and maybe share a little bit with the folks here. Coach Mark Smith.
Well, first of all, it's definitely a privilege and an honor to be here tonight to talk about a great young man. No doubt, we were blessed here in Kerrville with a lot of great kids, great coaches, and a lot of support, and made it easy. You know, throughout this whole process, I've been asked a lot of questions, really, you know, what are your favorite plays, what are your favorite things, but I think when I look at Johnny and the things that really impress me the most aren't the plays that he does on the field. And don't get me wrong, as a coach, I love what he does on the field. I love what he did for us here in Kerrville. I love what he does at A&M. But to watch the way he's matured and see the things that he did off the field and the way that he came to some decisions and doing the things he does, I think that's really what Johnny is. We all see him on a football field, but I go back to things like when we sat in the locker room coming to the decision to go to A&M. You know, I sat with Johnny, we looked at it, we got on the board, and it told me exactly where his heart was. You know, because really, when you're talking football, football's football. At the time, the smart choice, the smart bet was go to Oregon. They're in the top 5, great program, his skill set fit them exactly. But as we talked, the thing that kept coming back was his love for his family. His family and his loyalty to his friends. That was critical to him. You know, if he went to Oregon, it's going to be 3,000 miles away. But we sat there, he kept everything in perspective. It was about his family. So he made that decision to go to A&M and to listen to him talk to Coach Kelly the next day and do that. The guy was mature beyond years. And then you look at his work ethic. You know, a lot of people don't realize it, but as a staff, we'd come in at 8 o'clock in the mornings after a game. Now, normally it was a staff plus one. It was Johnny right in there with us. A lot of time talking with Coach Scott, trying to figure out how he could get better. Not only himself, but how to make the team better. He was into that. He was always early. Got up here. Probably talked more about a lot of things than just football. But they did a lot of good things. When he went to A&M, I remember talking to their coaches. And Coach Sherman at the time had a way of rating kids in the offseason, and Johnny was always in the top 3 for the day. And I thought that was impressive, and I don't think enough people understand that. I think, too, right now, Johnny's a pioneer. He is the first freshman, the only freshman to ever win a Heisman. It's uncharted territory. No Heisman Trophy winner has ever had to go through what he's doing right now as far as the social media, the things that are going on around him. Luckily, I got some friends that are at Baylor, and I was talking to them one day, and they had talked to RG3, Coach Phil Bennett. And, you know, one thing RG made mention to was that he was glad he didn't have to go back. He was preparing for the draft because he wasn't sure how he could handle all that, all the hoopla, all the things surrounding it. And what I like about Johnny, when you really listen to what he has to say, everybody else wants to talk about going pro, talking about winning a Heisman again. And when Johnny talks, he talks about the love of A&M, the love of his teammates, and winning a national championship. He's about A&M. And to me, those are the things you gotta love. He's strong in his conviction on who he is. He's strong in his family. He believes in them, and he did everything for them, and the rewards have come. And those are the things that I love Johnny for. Don't get me wrong, I love his playing ability. It was fun having him on our team. But more than anything else, it's the things and the convictions and the character that he stands for. Is he perfect? In no way, he'd even tell you that. But as Jesus once said, those without sin, you may cast the first stone. None of us are. And for that, I love this guy. I love him for who he is and what he's about. And I appreciate just being a part of this and the blessings I've received from being a part of his life. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Coach Smith. And now let's have Coach Scott, Coach Julius Scott. Juju, come up and visit with us a little bit. Notice he already gave Johnny a warning.
No warning. After Johnny's success, we've got to speak at a couple of football clinics, and a guy asked me to speak one time, and he said, I asked him what would like to be the topic, and he said, why don't you just name your topic, Hike the Ball to Johnny? And that kind of became a running joke with us, Hike the Ball to Johnny. I know this year before the Florida game, my wife and I were in line to get our tickets at A&M, and we're standing there, and the crowd is kind of simmering right now. They got a new kid that's going to be the quarterback, and you know, everybody's speculating on how he's going to perform against this big SEC foe and da-da-da-da-da. My wife says, I'm getting tired of this. I'm just going to tell him you coached him in high school. So she tells him, and man alive, did we draw a crowd. Everybody wanted to know, you know, what's he going to do? Is he scared? And I said, well, I'll tell you one thing, he's not scared. And what I already know, the world of A&M and the rest of this United States is fixing to find out that Johnny Manziel is going to turn this place on its ear. Johnny Manziel he has a quality that he improves everybody around him, as Coach Smith already said. I know in Kerrville we would go face foes like Cibolo Steele and Madison, and before the game, Johnny would exude certain confidences, and he made people believe in themselves, believe they could accomplish something. And you got to wonder what it is that he has that's so special. How can he get other people to believe? I know what that is, and I'm going to share a few stories that just entail he and myself. And I've watched Johnny in low times. I watched him right after he won the Heisman. Johnny Manziel has responded in the exact same manner. I know a year ago or so, before he was named the starter at Texas A&M, when he was fighting for a job, he got into a little trouble. His dad told me to call him, and I called him. And we talked for quite a while. And it was funny that Johnny ended that conversation with the exact same words that he ended the conversation with in the room across the street from where he received the Heisman Trophy. You know, moments after he's literally on top of the world, and he walks in there, and we buried our heads on each other's shoulders, and we cried like babies. And he says, Coach, I love you. And I think, you know, Paul says it best in 1 Corinthians when he said, you can have all the powers that the earth's got to give. You can move mountains with your faith. You can speak in tongues. You can sell every possession you have, give to the poor. But if you don't have love, you have nothing. And I guess one of my favorite stories, and I'll end with this, is I go to the LSU game, had a friend kind of befriended a police officer, and we got inside the ropes right down there on the field, and I'm watching them warm up. And then Johnny hype is going on pretty good at this time, and A&M's leaving the field. And so I quickly run over to the ropes, and I'm leaning against the ropes, and I'm just hoping to get his attention, and all the Aggies are walking by, and Johnny has his head down, and he's walking. By this time, there's hundreds of people crowding me. They're about to knock the rope over. Johnny football, Johnny football. And I'm like, oh, man, he'll never hear me. And as he's walking past, I just said, hey, Johnny, this is Coach Scott. He stopped, and he wheels, and he turns his head, and he walks straight over to me in front of those hundreds of people. And he puts his arm around my neck, and he goes, Coach, I love you. And don't you ever forget that. Johnny, I want you to know this. We love you, son, and we are very proud of you and the man that you've become. And God has blessed this community and this nation with people like you. Thank you very much.
Good.
Now I want to have Johnny talk about Coach Smith and Coach Scott a little bit. You guys can feel free to chime in, but, you know, I mean, there's a rebuttal period, right? I mean, he's the one who's got the Heisman Trophy. I want to know, Johnny, kind of what it was like when you were preparing to be a Tybee antler. I mean, before you even get to put that blue and gold on, what was it like, and what were the coaches who were here? How did they help prepare you for the first big moment when you became a Tybee antler?
I'll never forget being an 8th grader and playing on this field, and all the coaches, all the high school coaches, and everybody would watch from this bleacher over here. And I scored a touchdown one day and kind of did somewhat of a celebration or threw the ball back down. Before I even got a chance to go back to the sideline, Coach Scott grabbed me by my shirt and he said, "We don't do that here." That day on, I knew what this program and what these guys were about. We don't do that. We sit here and we play football and we do it the right way, and that's how it was going to be.
You know, it's amazing. I think for probably most of the people who watched you play in Tybee, and even before then, and watched you growing up, they laughed when everyone said, you know, this Johnny football craze came about. I think a lot of people had a lot of they kind of laughed at that. I said, well, Johnny's been doing these kinds of things for years and years. What did you think when you first heard Johnny football?
I didn't really know what to think about it. There had been other nicknames that I won't say on about going around Kerrville when I was in high school. But when I heard that, I was kind of anxious to see who the originator of it was. I don't think we'll ever find out. But it was different, and then to see where it's come nowadays is it's pretty crazy.
Well, to hear Coach Scott and Coach Smith both talk about the maturity process for you that obviously continues. But what did these men and what did the coaches and teachers and everyone around this community, what kind of values did they stress to you that you rely upon now, especially as things have just kind of built to this point?
There's too many things to even sit here and name. I'd be here all day if I could tell you the stories and what these teachers and what these people around the community, and more importantly these guys and the coaching staff that was here, what they've done for me, not only with preparing me for football, but other people and other players that have been here. They help you prepare you for life, and they do things here that are special and that you don't see at a lot of other places. There were certain rules. You had your hair a certain way, you didn't have your hair too long, didn't have facial hair. And even though we didn't understand at the time, you look back at it now and said that was structured to a program, and this is how you did things, and we respected them because of that. From that, I've learned so much.
Where do you grow a goatee now?
No way.
Coach Smith touched on this a little bit. I'd like to hear from Coach Smith and Coach Scott because, you know, in my ESPN college football world, I travel around and talk to coaches all the time. And I'm not going to say the school that was recruiting Johnny, but one of the schools that recruited Johnny that now says, oh yeah, we wanted him to be a quarterback. We knew he was going to be a quarterback all along. One of the coaches said, you know, we think he's going to be, we're going to give him a shot at quarterback, but he's probably going to be a wide receiver. So I'm sure you guys heard, kind of from your perspective, how much did you convince or talk to college coaches and recruiters saying, no, this guy, Johnny Manziel, is going to be a successful quarterback at the college level?
Well, I spent a lot of time talking to people about that. I think that's a question that's come up quite a bit. Why wasn't he recruited more out? Who knows? I mean, I think so many times colleges today get caught up in the cookie-cutter image of what they're looking for instead of looking at how a kid is productive on a football field. You know, with Johnny, the question was, what was his arm strength? Because really, when you go back and you look at his highlight tapes from his sophomore and junior year, there's a lot of running plays and getting things down the field, but he had a live arm, and he made the commitment to get better. And the people that did come in that finally got a hold of the videos, that had a chance to come in, that we could convince, came in, and once they saw him, and they said he is a quarterback, then it just became, well, if he was just an inch taller. And I still remember, I know Coach Scott and I both talked to Tom Rossley for quite a while. I can remember telling Tom, I said, Tom, you know, I remember a time when A&M, there was a guy there that wouldn't recruit Drew Brees either. Now, if you want to be remembered like that, don't recruit Johnny. And lo and behold, once Oregon, he committed there, and as Tom said, they were slow in their process, but they made a right decision.
I got a couple of Tom Rossley stories, I guess. Mark was gone a couple of days in the spring, and I got to entertain these recruiters, and I asked Coach Rossley one time, I said, how come you're not recruiting Johnny as a quarterback? And he says, well, you know, we don't think he's quite tall enough. He's not a pocket passer. And I said, well, you know, we play pretty big-time schools, and sometimes our line doesn't necessarily hold up. They leak, and he's got to escape and get out, and he's got to do it for survival's sake. And I said, Coach Rossley, at the college level, do they give you 6 points when you cross the goal, no matter how tall you are? And, you know, you've got to be a smart aleck. Anyway, I noticed the next year, and he says, well, I'll see what I can do. Well, he didn't do anything at that particular time, and next year we were playing Madison down in San Antonio, and I came over to Mark, and I go, hey, hey, isn't that Coach Rossley on the other side? He's standing on the Madison sideline. Coach Smith said, yeah, he said, he's recruiting some of those Madison players. Well, that particular night, Johnny set the record for the most pass attempts in the state of Texas. It's not near as many as it should be because he had to run a couple of those pass attempts, or we'd have even more. But we won the game, and I noticed Coach Rossley called me pretty quick after that and said, look, we'd like to change our plea for Johnny Manziel. I said, I know you do. Because you saw firsthand what he can do. So, yeah, you know, cookie cutter image, but the recruiters have they got to answer to their people too. So if they take a chance on too short of a guy or, a guy that's not a pocket passer, they have to answer for that. But I guess I think Coach and I both knew Johnny was I always felt he was a surefire thing, and thank God you proved me right.
Worked out pretty well, didn't it, Johnny?
Yes, sir.
Texas A&M, of course. Thank you very much, guys. We're going to talk about Johnny's future at Texas A&M, which, of course, I mean, this is it's spring game last weekend where Johnny shined again. But we're going to bring up Texas A&M quarterback coach and co-offensive coordinator Jake Spavital to talk about what is ahead for Johnny Manziel and the Aggies.
First off, I'd like to thank you all for allowing me to come here and say a few words about Johnny. I know this is a special night for him, especially being back home, seeing some familiar faces. I wasn't a part of this memorable season last year, but I did have the opportunity to sit there and study the tape of Johnny week in, week out. And I've been a part of this offensive scheme for about 6 years, and I've coached some really good quarterbacks along the way, some NFL first-rounders to NCAA record holders. And I understand how hard it is to go out week in, week out, and compete on the national stage at a high level. And, just looking at what Johnny did last year and competing at the highest level of college football week in, week out, it was flat out amazing to me because the consistency of that and put up the freakish numbers that he did week in, week out. And that has something to say to the year that Johnny had. The other thing about having, big-time quarterbacks, they always make you look good. And, the other thing is I got to thank the community of Ivy of getting him here instead of Oregon, so thanks to Gig'em on that one. But, as from a coaching perspective, you look at Johnny, and the thing that I see that impresses me the most is competitive nature. And, as they were saying earlier, the energy that he brings out there, it's, addictive. And he can take the average teammates and he can get them to play at a higher level than usual. And that's something to say to Johnny. I'm very excited about the future of Texas A&M. I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to work for him. Because, this is a partner deal. You got to have a lot of respect. And, I believe Johnny's capable of going out there and with all the pressure that he has now, going out there and doing great things again. And I want to thank you all again for having me out here to say a few words. And Johnny, appreciate it. And have a good night. Thank you.
We're going to bring Johnny up to speak here in just a moment, but I wanted to ask y'all if at any point during the season, leading up to it, if you were talking college football with your friends, with your buddies, did you say, now, I'm telling you, this guy Johnny Manziel for Texas A&M, I know it's their first year in the SEC, but he's from Kerrville, Texas. He was an amazing quarterback, and he's going to be a great quarterback at Texas A&M. Did anybody have that conversation like throughout at the beginning part of the year, back last summer, last spring, anything like that? So that's exactly the conversations that I have with my ESPN colleagues going back to last spring and last fall, and even through this football season when people kept saying, well, yeah, but wait till they get to Alabama. Wait till they get to this game. Wait till they get to the Cotton Bowl. Johnny proved them right, proved us right every time and time again. And it was a lot of fun, I think, for everybody who knew Kerrville, Texas, and Tybee High School, to have Johnny get up there at the Downtown Athletic Club in New York City and say, Tybee fight never dies. Wasn't that a lot of fun? And it was maybe a little bit of vindication, all of us who said, no, I'm telling you, he can actually get it done. Now he's got the Heisman Trophy. So, ladies and gentlemen, please welcome back to Antler Stadium for a few words, Johnny Manziel.
First and foremost, thank you all for being here today for a day to celebrate how my year last year went and how crazy of a ride it's been for me from sitting on this field 3 years ago to where my life is now. If you'd have looked at me and told me that this is how it had been, I'd probably told you were crazy. Just going back and thinking about the times when my parents told me, hey, we're leaving Tyler and we're moving to Kerrville, and I didn't understand it. Didn't understand why I had to leave all my friends that I had grown up with, and where in the heck was Kerrville, Texas? Is my first question. But when I got here, and now that I look back at it, I see that God had a plan for my life, whether that I saw it at the time or not. And looking back at it now, and what this community and what these coaches and what guys like Jacob Hell and all my friends here and what they've meant to me, Steve Grant, all these guys, the list can go on and on. Of what they've meant to me and the friendships that I've made. I've taken in a second mother in Bessie Pfeiffer, who I love with all my heart forever, who will always be with me. The times of sitting out here playing rugby in the summer and running around the track in the mornings and trying to go float the river and doing the things that you do here in the hill country, and what kind of an impact that has had on my life will last forever. And for all you guys here and all you people that have had an impact and have ran into me, whether it be one day at Rita's Tacos or one day at Acapulco or wherever, just thank you so much. The biggest thing for me that I want to say is I'll never forget the Heisman night. I didn't know what that trophy would really, what this right here would really do for my life. Not just because it was the first freshman win, not just because of that, but just because of the opportunities that it has presented in my life. For me to come back and get back to my community, what a blessing that is for me. And I'll end with this. And getting back, walking across the street after the Heisman and just really being such a blur. And then seeing Coach Scott, and then like you said, just hugging him, and that's when my emotions started to really get to me. And then sitting in a limo later that night and looking down at my phone, and somebody said, here, look at this. And for the thousands of people in Kerrville who went to places around here, who went to Wing King, who went to places, and to see their reaction when my name was called, that's when I lost it. To see what this trophy really meant for not only me, but for everybody out here, for my family. I can't thank you guys enough. I love y'all so much. And last but not least, Tybee, fight, never die.